College football fans, I want to know, do you want more college football content by Chat Sports? Well, you've come to the right place. The bosses have said we're going to do more college football videos over the next few weeks if we can get 20 subscribers off today's video. So if you guys can deliver and make that happen, we will deliver ourselves. Subscribe now for free, and we'll get started with today's show. Mississippi State has made a change at the head coaching position as Zach Arnett has been fired within his first season. After a 4-6 start to 2023, he took over the program after the tragic passing of the legendary coach Mike Leach at the end of last year. And the new athletic director, Zac Selmon, the name sounds familiar. The great Selmon family, the Selmon brothers, part of that family, has taken over that program and really wants to go a new direction and trying to make a splash of sorts to get this program back on track. Remember, several years ago, the first ever college football playoff poll, who was the number one team in the country? Mississippi State. It's really been kind of downhill ever since. So who could be their next head coach? We got 15 names to watch that we'll get to in just a minute. But what about Zach Arnett? Wild circumstance to fire him after his first season, not even after his first season. And crazy enough that two head coaches from the same game both got fired the following days as Jimbo was out at Texas A&M as well. What do you guys think? Did Zach Arnett deserve to be fired? Chime in, white for yes, in for no. Let us know what you think. Let's start with Shane Beamer, the head coach of the South Carolina Gamecocks. Has done a very solid job with that program since he took over. But the question becomes, have things kind of gone stale? And he does have some connections with some people within the Mississippi State program. He'll be named to watch. Jamey Chadwell, the head coach at Liberty, was with Coastal Carolina, did a really good job with Coastal Carolina for many years, has now gone to Liberty, and he's a name that is going to be very popular among many programs around the country with his track record and producing some very good talent at that group of five level as well. And then there's the name that everybody's keeping an eye on, Dan Mullen, former head coach at both Mississippi State and Florida. Of course, was the head coach of the Bulldogs when they did reach that number one ranking in the college football playoff poll several years ago. Went off to Florida, got off to a good start, and then things went downhill pretty quickly. Lately, he's been doing some television work for ESPN, kind of waiting to see when his next opportunity will be. It seems like a return to Starkville is unlikely, but we'll see if time can heal all wounds. Another name to watch who's very familiar in the SEC, Gus Malzahn, former head coach at Auburn, led them to a national championship game, was fired a couple of years later, has since gone on to UCF. They've had kind of a tough transition in the Big 12. Now, they did just get a huge win against Oklahoma State over the weekend, but obviously there's a long road ahead for UCF to get to where they want to go in the Big 12. Could he make a move to Mississippi State and get back to the SEC? Be something to follow. And then another big name to keep an eye on, Tom Herman, former head coach of the Texas Longhorns, now at FAU. Say what you want about Tom Herman. I know that he rubs some folks the wrong way, but he has won a lot of football games over the years, and he is a very good offensive mind and a good recruiter at that. And if you're Mississippi State, have to be thinking about who can bring in talent to this program. Tom Herman might be the guy you're looking for. Now, the Dan Mullen question. That's the one I think everybody wants to know here. Should Mississippi State bring back Dan Mullen? What do you guys think? I'm sure there's some of you that might be a little heated about this one. Chime in that comment section. Type 1 for yes. Type 2 for no. Let me know what you think if Dan Mullen should return to Starkville. One that might be off the wall for some folks, that is Joe Judge, assistant coach of the New England Patriots. He is an alum of Mississippi State, so he does have those connections there. Former head coach of the New York Giants, that tenure did not go so well, has had his problems as an offensive assistant in New England, but nonetheless, a name with connections there. A name to watch as well that's done a terrific job with the program he's at, that is Lance Leipold of the University of Kansas, and they have reached heights that they haven't seen in years. They were the worst program in the Power 5 Now they've had 2 straight seasons where they're bowl eligible. He says he's committed to that program in Lawrence long term, but remains to be seen exactly if that is going to happen or not with Lance Leipold there. So that'll be a name to watch as far as that goes with Lance Leipold. Another name to watch that also has SEC ties, that is Barry Odom, who was the former head coach at Mizzou. That did not go so well for him, but then he ends up at UNLV, who was one of the worst programs in the country, had a lot of questions about their money situation. They didn't have a whole lot to spend. Goes to UNLV, and they've done a really good job of getting that thing turned around. He's always had a very good track record as a good recruiter. Watch out, Barry Odom could be that guy potentially for Mississippi State. More names to get to in a moment, but first let's tell you about today's sponsor, Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. Here is how Prize Picks works, folks. You pick 2 or more players, and on any given category, you get the choice of more or less on, let's say, points. Maybe it's receiving yards. Maybe it's passing touchdowns. All sorts of things that you can play with. And tonight, I'm going to do a little mixture. Prize Picks is really promoting how you can do this with multiple sports. So I'm going to do that tonight with a little Monday Night Football action and a little NBA action as well. I'm going with Quentin Grimes to have more than 6.5 points for the New York Knickerbockers. And then I'm going with a couple Denver Broncos. I might be making a mistake trusting the Broncos, but hey, we'll see what happens. Russell Wilson with more than half an interception. And Cortland Sutton with more than 3.5 receptions. If all 3 of these hit, I put $20 down. I'm turning that into $100 with Prize Picks. Come play along with me at prizepicks.com/CLNS. Promo code CLNS to get your $100 deposit match. That's prizepicks.com/CLNS. Another name, John Summerall, the head coach at Troy. That Troy program has really turned things around since he took over the last few years. Another name that certainly is going to turn some heads a little bit. That is Rich Rodridguez, who is now the head coach at Jacksonville State. Rich Rod was at West Virginia, went to Michigan, went to Arizona. He's been kind of all over the place over the years. And we've seen some flashes from Rich Rod, but a lot of inconsistency and some broken hearts and a few different things. But nonetheless, Rich Rod is back to winning again. Could we see him make a return to the Power 5 level? We'll see if that's one to watch. Then when you talk coordinators, you have to start with that Georgia program. Glenn Schulman has done a really good job with that Georgia defense, taking over a couple of years ago for Dan Lanning. He's got that Georgia program humming. That defense has just continued, and they continue to bring in top talent. He'll be another name that sooner rather than later will get his shot at the Power 5 level to be a head coach. Who should be the next head coach at Mississippi State? Still got a few more names to get to, but want to hear from you guys first. Chime in that comment section. Give me a name that you would like to see end up with the Bulldogs or not. Last ones on our list, Willie Fritz, head coach at Tulane. Willie Fritz has been awesome over the last few years running their spread option offense. They love to run the football, and they've made an impact. Really, you think about it, in the American, they have been the team to beat the last couple of years, even when you still had the likes of Houston and Cincinnati and UCF. Tulane was right up there with those guys competing, and they've gotten some marquee wins over the last couple of years as well, defeating USC and Kansas State and others. This one might be a head-scratcher for some people. Jeff Lebby, the offensive coordinator at Oklahoma, things have gone up and down for Jeff Lebby as a play caller there with the Oklahoma Sooners, but did a good job as the OC at Ole Miss, so he has recruited in the state before. And then Rhett Lashley, the head coach at SMU. SMU, this is a program that is making that transition to the ACC. Does he really want to be a part of that? Might be a good chance for him to get out and go somewhere that's already established like Mississippi State. So those are the names that we have on this hot board. For more college football coverage, this is the place to be. Subscribe now for free, and we'll see you next time right here on College Football Now.